Hey everyone, in this video we're going to cover the basics of managing groups in Linux. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and we'll start with the group add command, and we can add a group. So in this case, we don't specify a -G with the group ID we want. It will just take the next available group ID on the system. We can also view the group file. That's an etc group. Show us all the groups on the system, or we can check for a specific group using the grep command, which is a little more manageable. We can also add users at creation time. And in this case, we'll pass a -G and we'll pass the ID we want. And we can use -U for user. And then a comma separated list of our group members and the name of the new group. And then we can check our group here. And just note that there are some naming restrictions on groups, and you can view those in the man page. Also, it follows the same conventions as user add as far as using some defaults in etc login.defs. So that would be some of the things like the starting minimum ID on the system and then the max ID. Just a quick look at the listing in our etc group file here. We have the name of the group. This is related to the group password, and that's actually in the gshadow file. Then we have the GID and then our list of users in the group. And just a quick note on this -U. So this is actually, in this case, Debian specific. I'm sure there may be some other distros that use it are Debian based, but actually Ubuntu, being a Debian based system, on 2004 does not have this option to add users with this command. And I checked on a Rocky Linux, I think it was 8.9. So this is going to be pretty much a clone of anything RHEL based. So probably also include like Alma Linux and CentOS. I didn't see that flag there either with the group add command. So just keep that in mind if you're using a different distribution. Let's take a look at some methods to add and remove users from groups. So we'll start with adding a user to a group here, and we can use the usermod command, specify the user, and we need to specify A with G and the group we want to add the user to. Now Bob's in the workspace group. We can also remove a user. Do that with -R, uppercase G, specify our group. And then Bob's removed from the group. We can also specify multiple groups with a comma separated list. And use the same method to remove. So with an R. And now Bob is removed from all three groups. We can also use the -G flag to specify a new primary group for the user. Now, as you can see, Bob's primary group is set to workspace. And we'll change that back to Bob. And now we're set back to Bob as our primary group. Let's clear that up. We can also use the group mod command. And so we'll add Bob to test group. And then we can see Bob is now in test group. We need to make sure we use the -a option with that. Otherwise, the group list is replaced. So and as you can see, it was overwritten there. And there we go. Now it's appended instead of overwritten. So just be careful with that. Also, a quick mention about the group mod command and the dash uppercase U is checking that on Rocky 8.9. The option is not available, and Ubuntu 20.04, the option is not available. I actually checked Fedora 39, and it is available there. So Debian and Fedora seem to have it, where probably some other distros don't. Probably depends on what they're derived from. So you have to use the user mod command instead. And also the group mod command can be used to change the GID and the group name. Now, I usually would probably just create another group, but you may find yourself in a situation where it may be easier for whatever reason to change that ID or the name if needed. And the usage is available in the man page if you want to check that out. I'll also give a quick mention to the group mems command and show a couple examples of that. And I just want to throw out there that I'd used this before and I was aware of the command as far as the ability to list users out. I'd always used other commands to add users to groups. One of the features of group mems is that it gives the user the ability to manage their namesake group, the group that's created named after their username. I tried to follow the instructions in the man page and set the appropriate permissions on the binary and the ownership, but I could not get it to work as expected. I tried to do a little research to find out if anyone else ran into this issue, and I wasn't able to find anything on it. So I'd also tried it in Rocky Linux 8.9, and it didn't work for me there either. So if anyone else has any ideas about what I might have done wrong, or if they've ever actually implemented this successfully, please leave a comment and let me know. So with that out of the way, let's check out the command. And so can actually add a user to a group, -A for append, -G for the group. Can use this to list out the group. And so it's possible to use it if you have sudo access or you're the root user. But as I mentioned, I wasn't able to get it to work as far as allowing a user to manage their own group. So I may take another look at that and give it another try. And if I figure it out, I'll post an update in some way, maybe even in the description or a follow-up video. We also have the gpasswd command. And with this command, you can allow regular users to administer groups. And I'll kind of explain these functions as we go and do a few demonstrations. So here we go with -D for delete, and then the user from the group. We can see that I don't have permission to manage that group. So I can use a -A, pass a user that I want to add to the administrators list, and the name of the group. Now I can try to add Bob to workspace. And Bob's added to the workspace group. And so now as Bob, I can actually run the new grp command with one of my groups. Let me just spell that right. And now I've switched my primary group to workspace. And then back out. And now I can remove Bob from the group with the -D flag. And Bob's removed. And so gpasswd also allows us to set a password for the group. And I'll explain more about this at the end as far as the issues that we might run into with this. But for now, let's just check this out real quick. So if we run gpasswd and then the group we want to work on, it's workspace. Now it prompts us to set a password for the group. And so now Bob is not a member of the group, but if I type new GRP, and then workspace. Now it prompts for a password. I can enter that pass, and then I can set my primary group to that group. And so we can use the R flag to remove that password. And now the password we set no longer works. Also, when we're setting the admin list, it overwrites. So unless you pass a list, it's going to change it to say only one user if you only specify one user. So for example, and we can see that that's actually in G shadow. So root is able to see the list of admins. G shadow. We can see that Bob is listed there. So if we want multiple users, we have to pass a list. Our group. And now we can see our list of admins there. And I'll just mention real quick, we won't demonstrate it, but I could actually set a list of members with -M, and it would work the same as -A. So if I've only passed one user, it would overwrite with just that user. If I passed a comma separated list, it would set the members of the group to those values. We can also clear the list by passing an empty string. So now the list of admins is empty. And so just a quick mention about a couple things we covered there, like the new group command or new GRP. Isn't it a scenario where that might be useful is where you have a share or even directories where you have multiple users that are part of a group that are creating files there. If the set GID is not on the directory, then it's going to create the files with whatever primary group that user has, which may not match the group that is given permissions to all the files within the directory. So it may be useful for that, but again, I think set GID is probably a better approach to that. Also, the gpasswd, as far as setting a password for the group, run into security issues because then you have to share among users. So I would say that's probably more useful if you have users that you want to allow to administer certain groups by adding them to the admin list. And the last thing I'm going to cover is the vi group command or vigr, and that allows us to edit the group file directly. And that way we have validation when we exit out of it and save our changes. Otherwise, if we used a regular editor, we wouldn't get that validation and any mistakes could cause problems on the system. So if we just type vigr, now we could actually change an entry here. And we could, just to be consistent, okay, and now we have our group that we've manually added using that command. And that covers the basics of managing groups on a system. So if you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the channel and leave a like. And also comment and let me know if there's any specific topics you'd like to see covered. Thanks for watching.